Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call the Board of Adjustment to order. First, let me announce all decisions of the board are considered final. If there's anyone aggrieved by the decision of this board, they may appeal to circuit court within 15 days of the board's decision. Also, no permits or license can be issued until that 15-day appeal period has expired and no appeal has been filed. For information regarding the board's decision or an appeal to circuit court, the Office of Land Use Administration will be your contact. As you come to the podium, we'll ask that you give your name and address for the record and address your questions and your statements to the board, not to the staff or others in the audience. There's a 5-minute limitation for speakers, 4 in support of a variance request and 4 in opposition. I'll remind the board members to turn their microphones on when they give a statement or ask a question. Those of you in the audience and our board members, please turn your phones on silent or off so that we don't have a disturbance. If you have any handouts, I would ask that you give them to the staff now so we don't have to worry about distributing them during the process of the meeting. All right, with that, we'll call the roll call and then we'll get going. Starting with Mr. Morris. Here. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Millen. Mr. Metcalf. Mr. Golden. Mr. Davis is not here. And I'm William Guest. There are 6 members present. It takes 5 to affirm a motion. We have a quorum. Therefore, we can proceed with the meeting as once the agenda has been adopted. And the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda at this point. Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Agenda is adopted as presented. Okay, we'll start with the extension. This is number 6449 regarding 2908 Old Shell Road. Is the applicant. If you'll come to the podium, sir. And your name and address.
My name is Lorenzo Moore, and address is 2805 Government Boulevard, Mobile, Alabama 36606.
Okay, and you're asking for a 6-month extension?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the staff's in support of that, I would suspect. Okay, any questions of the board for the applicant? 6 months is sufficient for
Yes,
your
sir.
needs?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is anyone in the audience either in support or opposition today? Okay, with that, the public hearing regarding that request is closed. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Chair, entertain a motion. Have a motion to approve, second. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, now to our public hearings. Application 6476, 2401 Wolf Ridge Road. Good afternoon. Make sure the mic is close enough for you and your name and address, please.
My name is Theophilus Hudson. My address is 1472 Badusky, Mobile, Alabama 36605.
I think you might have to pull it up from your height.
Okay.
All right. Did you get that for the record? Okay. And your application has been recommended for approval subject to conditions. Have you read those?
Yes, sir.
Are you in agreement with those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay, we did have comments, correct? And from what I can tell, they were in support. All right. Once again, any questions of the board for the applicant? Anyone in the audience either in support or opposition? Okay. Okay, with that, we'll conclude the public hearing. Staff's recommended for approval. Will not be contrary to public interest. Special conditions exist. Spirit chapter of the spirit and chapter shall be observed. Substantial justice done to the applicant surrounding neighborhood by granting variance due to the facts the site would be revitalized for viable use. And the applicants agreed to the conditions. With that, chair entertain a motion. Have a motion to approve subject to conditions with a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. See if I'm on the right number here. Number 3. And this one, my understanding is Mr. Metcalf has requested a recusal. And we had a new narrative that was provided to the board. and comments. I think the comments were mixed. Did we have both negative and positive?
You have on one sheet comments for multiple different applications. There was only one comment on agenda item number 3.
Okay. And once again, we received a new narrative. Your name and address, we know you, but for the record.
Jerry Bird, Bird Surveying, 2609 Halls Mill Road, Mobile,
Okay.
for the applicant.
Okay, this one's been recommended for denial. You want to tell us why we should consider otherwise?
Yeah. The business itself is okay in a B3. I-1 use is required for metal fabrication. Their metal fabrication, it's, name of the business is Core in Maine, which is a National Fire Protection Company. The fabrication part that they have is assembling a section or a room of the sprinkler system that will go into a new building somewhere else. They lay it out on the floor, cut the pieces to length. Some joints are welded. Some joints are threaded and screwed together. I'm sure that's a loose fitting, but they lay it all out like it's supposed to be, and then they'll disassemble it, bundle it up, load it on a truck, take it to the job site and install it. The noise level, welding, and I don't know how they cut their pipe. I would think that both of those would create a very minimal noise level. As far as the property is zone B3, but there is a high influx of I-1, which is this blue, this being the site, across the streets, I-1 and up. Yes, there's a church on this R1 property right here, but it sits way over, away from this the subject site. The hours of operation for this business is like 7 to 4, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And they're not open on Saturdays and Sundays. Shouldn't interfere with any activities going on at that church or the other church that is located at the corner of Azalea Road and Halls Mill in a B3. Little small building there that church has been in for a while. The first church I spoke about is a larger building, but it does sit over. But the
What was this building used for previously? Any idea?
I don't know.
It was Kennedy.
Office warehouse
Yeah,
type
it
use.
was like a supply business or something. I think that Mr. Kennedy had.
If you've got anything to add, you'll have to come to the podium, sir. Okay. You may have the answers that I have, or the questions I have.
Mike O'Neill,
Address.
Spanish Fort, 30530 Middle Creek Circle, Spanish Fort, 36527. Formerly, the building was used by Kennedy Industrial, and they had welding machines and things like that supported a lot of the shipyards and stuff out of that building. So they had heavy trucks and had a kind of a retail industrial operation there. That's my understanding.
Did they do anything like any manufacturing of any type?
I wasn't there, so a little bit, probably consistent with what's going on. The word fabrication means different things to different people. When I think of fabrication, are we talking about Austell, or are we talking about you fabricating a piece of PVC pipe in your house? They both could fall under that description. So this, what Kennedy did in that building prior to that, I'm not sure, but they probably did a little bit of fabrication. And I think any of the quote-unquote fabrication that might be taking place moving forward would be consistent with what had taken place in the past.
What about exhaust systems for welding, things like that?
They have the tenant has proposed to put in 3 exhaust fans just to make sure they got air moving through there. But there are several roll-up roll-up doors that would probably keep enough ventilation going through anyway. But they wanted some just to be safe. We're talking about corporate America here, and they don't cut any corners. Is it sprinkled?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I don't believe
may
it. I don't believe it is, but I'm not sure.
Maybe after they get in. If they're
Yes,
right.
yes.
Well, you said corporate, made me think about it. All right, any questions of the board for the applicant? Mr. Rep? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Metal and plastic. There were glue and.
Margaret, you have a
This narrative was submitted a couple hours ago. It was not included in the application, thus it was not included in the staff analysis. Metal fabrication, though, as pointed out, does require the I-1 use. I, however, would also say that without a scope of operation to know what portion of the business or the building is devoted to fabrication, it could be considered an accessory use. But again, in evaluating this application, we didn't have that information. So, if it's over 50% of the operation or square footage, the fabrication would require I-1 zoning. Did that answer you at all?
follow-up comment?
Yeah. So this is not solely a fabrication operation. They're going to be distributing components in support of fabrication. So the whole building is 27,000 square feet. And I believe the majority of it was going to be used to basically store inside components that would be incorporated into a fabrication application. But, these folks have been basically doing this down the street for a number of years, and fabrication is just one of those ancillary services they provide. It's not their main business, but we didn't want to run afoul of anybody. We want, in full disclosure, tell you what.
We submit floor plans. You have updated floor plans because that would address her question or comment. Yes.
I've got two comments. I am familiar with the building. I've shown it several times for different people looking to do warehouse distribution type operations. And I mean, it's an older building. It's kind of tight on the lot. I do think there's some hardships as far as the B3 zoning and some of the uses. So I do think that, based on a little bit of research I've done on this, I do think this is a good use for that property. I'd also say we had a tenant in another building, which was VFP, which I think is a similar type company that was doing, sprinkler system, maintenance, repair, installations, et cetera, down on Range Line. And I think they had a similar fabrication. It's a small part of what they're doing. It's a service they provide, but we never found it to be, I represent the owner who did the building for a number of years. We never found it to be dangerous. It was a multi-tenant building. Wasn't a bother to any of the other tenants. Based on my understanding and reading your narrative, it seems like it's going to be a small part, and I would say it seems like a good use for the building, and not something that's outside of the spirit of, I think, the zoning law.
Any other questions for the board? What percentage of the building do you expect would be dedicated to the fabrication, putting the components together?
I would say with some of the discussions that I've had with the tenant, I believe they were taking a 9,000 square feet of it to utilize that third. Might be less than that. They're keeping their fingers crossed they could even get some of the work.
Is there any other issues with this site besides the classification? All right. Thank you.
Y'all. Thank y'all.
Is there anyone in the audience that's either in support or opposition today? Okay, that will conclude our public hearing on this application. Margaret, would it benefit the staff for us to hold this over to allow you opportunity to review any site drawings, or now that you have the narrative, or if the board should choose, we set a limit on the percentage of the building that, like you said, for an ancillary use, not to exceed?
If it's considered ancillary, it'd be by right. However, Marie just corrected me on my ratios. For an accessory use, it's 25%. So I think if the board is comfortable with the information they have before them, you can go ahead and move forward. If the board would prefer us to do more research and have the applicant submit more information, you have that path before you as well.
So this is primarily the main issue. Other than that, the parking, access.
That's correct. It's all existing because it is zoned for distribution.
And I'm with my counterpart here that I didn't want to say your name for the record. Just that the key point is that it is a low impact operation from my experience with it. The welding is the one component that, from an exhaust, and making sure that it's properly managed would be my only concern. Putting the components together and then transporting them to another location for installation is not uncommon. Okay. All right. Well, with that, like I said, we'll conclude the public hearing. I'll open up for comments. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve it. Due to the fact I do think there's a hardship for the property, and I think that their proposed use is consistent with Halls Mill Road and would not create a hardship on the area.
What about a limitation on the ancillary use percentage of the building?
Mike, I guess 25% based on, you said it was 27.5, it's about 7,000 square feet. I mean, how sure are you of the 9? I mean, is that somewhat of a guess?
You'll have to come to the podium, sir. Sorry. Mr. Mills has a question for you. Make sure I got that right.
Yeah, that's my understanding, but like I say, it's not my operation. And I know they were setting up, they checked out power to make sure they had, the right power for exhaust fans and anything else they might have needed there. So I think that's just where it lays out, because there's a firewall in the middle of the space. The former tenant, there were 2 people in there. So there's a firewall, and they wanted to take the smaller of the 2 spaces and use it for the potential for fabrication. But once again, knowing a little bit about the fabrication, fire protection business, where the primary product of fabrication years ago used to be steel pipe. It's not anymore. It's that orange plastic pipe. It's called Blaze Master. So there's not even any welding there. But you never know. Somebody gets out there and needs some fabrication done in the traditional sense of the word with welding. They want to have that capability. So I think they'll be moving and storing more of the plastic pipes. That's what the industry standard is now.
If I was to condition it with no more than 9,000 square feet, allotted to that operation, do you think that? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to find is, I just don't think it's a big concern. Don't see there's a need to hold it over, but also don't want to get caught with a situation where, they're using 65% of it and we didn't do our due diligence. So, I was thinking either limit it to something or, hold it over and get it more specific.
It seems like it would be consistent with the law. Let's say limit it to whatever the capacity would be, that threshold amount, which is 25%.
That's going to be about 6,800 square feet.
And I think they can do that, because it's just really more of a storage operation than a fabrication operation.
Okay. So if we do a max of 25%, of 25%?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make that motion with a max of 25% allotted to the fabrication.
Do I have a second? Second. Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. Mr. Metcalf, can you rejoin us? Okay, we're on application 6478. Mr. Robinson?
How you doing?
Good.
Good
How
afternoon.
you doing, sir?
Johnny Robinson, 4791 Shore Road, Theodore, Alabama.
Okay, the staff's recommended your application for denial. You want to tell us why we should consider otherwise?
Well, I gave y'all each one a letter here. I'll let y'all read it. My voice kind of going out. Just had a biopsy done this past week. So, y'all take time to put that down.
Okay.
And like I say, basically, property rights, I'm looking for my property rights for annexation into the city. Been there all my life. I'm the oldest one on the road there. Have been doing this since 2002. Family unions, birthday parties, stuff like that, and also, I do a lot of cooking for different events for people that mishap, families that pass, whatever. I cook for them, stuff like this. It's just simple stuff. There ain't nothing like. Like I also went out there and got permits like they asked me to. Then the second time they told me that I couldn't get a permit because it was R1 resident. And like I say, this old dirt road that's been there for, I know 52 years. I've been there 52 years.
And this was annexed? Is that-
Yeah, it was annexed in the city. And
When was it annexed?
in 2000, I think I want to say 6,
2010.
Okay.
10. Okay.
So you were doing it 8 years prior to the annexation?
Yeah, I was doing this prior to the annexation. And
So it
like I say,
had-
never had a problem. Used when the city annexed in there. I was using the county sheriff department when the city annexed in there. I used the city mobile police department. Anywhere from 3 to 4 officer event. Never had police come out there. None of that good stuff.
So did we lose non-conforming use? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
The property was annexed, I'm sorry, in 2008. The home was constructed in 2010. The county was able to forward us a copy late last week of the permit for when it was annexed. The non-conforming that was submitted was inconclusive. It didn't have dates, frequency of events, size of events, etc. So the applicant's pursuing a use variance.
We had comments. We had at least one on this particular one. All right. So the fact that he doesn't have like a register or a log showing when he had events is what's an issue. Okay. Any questions? on the
I
board?
did, excuse me, I'm sorry. I did turn in notarized paperwork showing that every people in the community signed saying I was doing this prior to annexation. Previous city council, John Williams, also signed one of those prior to
Well, that's
annexation.
fair.
I was doing that prior to the annexation. It should be,
Yeah, there's more in here than I realized. So
yeah, I
sorry
think
about
it's
that.
the first one, John Williams signature on there. And,
Okay. You have copies of all this?
Margaret, do you know the person who's opposing it, Rosa L. Shannon? Her address is Montgomery. Do you know if she resides, or I mean, I see her last name looks like it matches the street, so I don't know if there's family there.
that'll be Miss LaSure. She lives in Selma, Alabama. She don't even come down there. I
Really?
cut her grass half the time.
Is her, and I guess Reverend Ralph LaSure, is that her
he
brother?
passed years ago, yeah. Reverend LaSure.
Is he,
passed.
he's deceased?
Yes, he's deceased. It's an empty lot. There's a lot of times I go and cut the grass myself just to keep it.
But they're not
No.
in town.
No, they're not there. She's in Selma, Alabama. I think the lady about 80-some years old.
Have you ever had any complaints from neighbors or anything like that? As
Matter of
far as
fact,
noise or
when Mr. Williams, John Williams, come to me about it, and he said something about it, I go into the neighborhood, and everybody from Captain Ellis State back signs say they was good with it. because I was trying when they went to saying people, he said somebody said something, so I went done that part to get them to sign. Everybody signed it, and I brought it to him and gave it to him. He said, man, we'll just do a North audit. And ever since then, we did a North audit every year. Every event I did, family union I did, I do a North audit.
How late do you normally have something?
My North audit always was done at 2 a.m. I done 2 a.m. in case it rain or whatever. You could offset it, whatever. 11:30, 12 o'clock, it's done.
Any other questions on the board? Okay. Anyone in opposition or support? Good afternoon.
Hey there, Ben Reynolds, 3908 St. Andrews Loop. This is an interesting one, to say the least. But Mr. Robinson has been on LaShore Drive for a long time and was afforded rights being out in the county to be able to have these sort of events and has held them for decades now. And once they annexed into the city, he continued to have these parties. And he would get waivers of the noise ordinance, which he said 2 a.m. Now when I do the waiver, I scale him back to midnight and say midnight's the cutoff. But he's continued to do it even as a citizen of Mobile at this location. And then now all of a sudden somebody, of course, complained or something and raised this concern. The city has gone out and determined that, this isn't an appropriate use. And typically in an R1 area, an event space isn't an appropriate use. But the gentleman's got, property rights that I would say that he still maintains, even though he's been brought into the city. And we can't take those away from him, in my opinion. And I think he's been responsible in every way he can, responsive to the city. When they came out and they said, hey, look, you can't do this here. You got to get a business license. He comes down here and he's got a business license. They issued it to him. He's gotten waivers of the noise ordinance. Then for his latest event, he came down to get a business license, and then boom, it comes up, hey, look, you can't have a business license for this. So, it's a unique one. It's one that happened prior to annexation. There were some carryover rights. It's been, unaddressed all these years. And like Mr. Robinson said, he went to the neighbors. He got statements from the neighbors, notarized, saying that he has been holding these events for years and years. He also submitted some photographs to the staff that showed that these events were going on for years. Although it may have not have been a complete record, it was definitely a record, and it's one that I think, supports what he's after today. So I'd ask you guys to grant the conditional use, I guess, is what this is.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just for the record, you didn't tell us that you were the councilman for that particular area.
I am. I'm the city councilman for District 4, and this is at the southernmost boundary, the absolute southernmost boundary of my district.
And I can also say that the city incorporated it, annexed it, but it's still got a dirt road on it.
Yep, that's right. It's one of the. That's exactly right. And Mr. Robinson gave me photographs. Although I've been down his road many times, and I've been to an event at his place. It is one of the few dirt roads left in the city. He doesn't complain a whole lot about it being a dirt road. He's a good old country boy. He's got horses and all that sort of stuff out there, and it's really, he's unbothered in a lot of ways until this came up. So hopefully we can do the right thing and get him taken care of. Thank y'all.
All right. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. Lawrence L. Batiste IV, Executive Director of Public Safety, 205 Government Street, Suite 10. I stand here today. I was tasked with the responsibility of going out and walking the property for Mr. Roberts to just kind of see what type of hardship they had created by way of public safety. I walked the property. Should he have an event, when he has events, there's plenty of parking that he's cleared land to make sure that he has parking for. You make sure he's constantly have law enforcement officers to address any public safety concerns that might arise as a result of it. And of course, in my conversation with him, he typically runs about 2 to 4 events a year. Again, which I think that based off what he's tried to do historically, not knowing that he needed to keep a record of events that he did prior to annexation, that he's done the best he can to address those concerns and make sure he present for you guys today. So under those, based on that, I think that he's due to be.
It doesn't sound like he's ever had any problems out there. You're very
To
supportive.
my knowledge, based off what I've been able to find, I hadn't found any incidents of problems that occurred when he had events at that location.
Thank you. All right, anyone else would like to speak on this matter? All right, that'll conclude our public hearing on this application. I would say that the applicant has provided some written correspondence that support a continuous use of the property, which I would take as non-conforming use that's been maintained. Is that the way staff would interpret it?
Based on the application at hand, it's a use variance.
So, but they've continued to use it since the annexation from,
It's not a review of non-conforming, it's a use variance
It's an absolute
application.
all right. Okay. Comments of the board? Other than, I think, the one correspondence, everyone else has been in support that I can see today. Right. All right. Once
Mr.
again, any
Chair.
questions of the board or comments? Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chair, I'll just say, being in that area and running a business out there after annexation and all that, there's certainly been some hiccups following annexation, and I understand he's had the business, quote, the use, and he's provided documentation, and I understand we're looking at a use variance, not reviewing an administrative appeal necessarily, but I think ultimately the result is the same by allowing him to continue using the property for what he has been. So I'm just making that comment that I support.
And this council reps in support, maybe a limitation on the hours of the variance for the noise ordinance. With that, any other comments of the board? All right, chair entertain a motion. Have a motion to approve, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Good luck with your business. All right, application 6479, 5492 regarding 631 Azalea Road. Is the applicant here? Or the rep? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Lee with Lee Engineering Company. I'm here on behalf of the applicant as the agent, and it's 1290 Main Street, Daphne, Alabama.
Okay, this application has been recommended by staff for approval subject to conditions. Is the applicant in support of those conditions?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? Do we have any correspondence on this in support or opposition? All right. Questions of the board for the applicant's rep? Okay, staff's recommended for approval. The applicant's in agreement with the conditions. Anyone in support or opposition today to the application? All right, we have none for the record. With that, we'll conclude the public hearing on this application. Chair, entertain a motion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
So moved what? For approval? And what was second? Is that subject to staff's conditions as well, Mr. Metcalf? Okay. I have a motion to approve subject to staff recommendation and conditions. Chair, call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right. Application 6480, 6342. We have Mr. Spafford here by chance? Or okay, 200 North Royal Street. Yes, sir. And your application is also recommended for approval, subject to some minor conditions. You in agreement with those? Oh, I should get your name and address for the record, sir.
Tim Spafford, 1263 Lake Circle West, Mobile, Alabama, 36693.
Thank you. And you're in agreement with those conditions? Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay. Anyone in the audience, either in support or opposition today? Okay, we have none. And with that, I guess we'll conclude our public hearing. And Chair entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Okay. You have a motion to approve
Yes, sir.
with conditions?
Yes, subject to staff's conditions.
Okay, I have subject to staff conditions.
Second.
Mr. Milling made that motion.
Second.
And Mr. Morris made a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we're on number 7. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is regarding 4660 Airport Boulevard. Is the applicant here? Either of you gentlemen in the back here for one of these applications? Nope. Okay. We had any communications from the applicant to the staff? All right. Well, this one was recommended for denial. We had comments from the public too on this one as well, and they were in opposition, if I remember correctly. Okay. Yes, sir.
I think that in this case, just comment that with the negative comments and the fact that the applicant didn't even show up, then I think that's something we should consider for denial of the application.
And the fact that there was no communications
That's
with the staff,
correct.
that there was a hardship for the meeting.
Right. I think that's pretty rude, actually.
Because we've allowed in the past to extend for holdover, but this particular applicant didn't even make contact with them. So, all right, have a motion to deny. Is that? I'm ready for.
Well, then I'll make a motion to deny it.
Okay. And do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Do we have any other business today? All right. Well, thank you all. Mr. Milling, I am sorry that I called you my counterpart. Don't worry. I'm going to say your name every time now. Yes. Steve. Steve. Yeah.